Hello and welcome to another video. Today I will be reviewing this lovely Jaguar XJ. Well, by the time this video gets uploaded, I will no longer be the owner of this car. So today it's my last drive on it, and I decided to do an ownership review, a bit of a farewell drive. I bought this car back in May, and I wanted something a little bit different, something like a project. I had plenty of time. My commute to work was very short, and I thought, why not? I even thought about replacing the Focus with this car, but then things started to change a few months later, and I've become increasingly busy with work and other activities as well. The lockdown restrictions have been lifted, meaning that finding a parking space for this car on my previous job, which was near a town centre, became nigh on impossible for a car of this size. Also, with the issues that I faced with this car, it required even more of my spare time, and which was increasingly short. And I've considered also the other option, which was to store it and then not run for a good while, and then just pick up on the project at a later stage. But that wasn't an option either. You see, I've got a new job, and this new job means that I'm going to be even busier than what I am now. It is a bit further, which would make it impossible for me to use this car on a daily basis because it will be too costly, and it wouldn't be fair to basically just to abandon this car and leave it. So I thought it would be more wise to stop the project now and pass it on to someone else who can have the time and also a little bit of the cash to carry on with the work. I did a lot of work in this car. I did radiator, condenser, suspension, brakes, several electrics and so, and steering, for example, and it took quite a bit of my time. And there are quite other bits in this car that will need professional work, something that is completely out of my possibilities, and that involves the work of a specialist. But for me to take this car to a specialist means taking 2 days off work, one to take the car there and one to pick up the car, and the specialists only work Monday to Fridays, and taking time off work is an absolute no-no for me at this stage. So if the conditions were different, would I have kept this car? Yes, probably. This is a very nice car to drive. It is comfortable, it is quiet, it's a very relaxing drive. I thoroughly enjoy driving it. Owning it, it's probably a little bit different. These cars do require time and money, of course, like just any other car, but they do require time from you, and they need to be looked after. They need a bit of TLC, they need all sorts of things. After all, these cars are 20 years old, and they need a little bit more care than what they used to when they were back in the 90s, when they were new. This is a lovely place to be perfectly honest. Very high quality interior, everything nicely laid out, although some ergonomics are a little bit questionable, like for example the headlight level sensor just quite far away, and a few other buttons as well. But those are little niggles that I can just simply ignore. This car has presence on the road, which is something that you can't say about many cars on today's roads. It comes from an era, probably the last year up to noughties, where the cars did have a certain image. You could distinguish all cars from each other. Nowadays, everything looks pretty much the same, really. And to be quite frank, it almost looks boring. For me, this car is already a classic. It's a gorgeous design. It's a nice and comfortable car to be in. Although I never found personally a very comfortable position to sit on. I don't know. I just always found it a bit odd, especially because the seats don't really go deep enough. But then again, everything else is just great. It goes relentlessly on the road, and every time you need a little bit of power, you ask for it and it will give it to you, really. Some people say that the 3.2, as is the case of this one, is not very powerful, it's a bit sluggish and so on. I don't really find it so, to be perfectly honest. I think it is perfectly adequate for today's traffic. And let's face it, these engines, the XJ16 engine, which is the case of this car, they are absolutely bulletproof. It doesn't mean that they won't go wrong, because the engine is just only part of a very complex machinery, all the electrics and everything else around it, and that's what will let you down. But then again, it's all part of careful maintenance and time spent on it. And this is my advice to everyone buying an XJ X300. If you want one, buy one, but buy the best you can afford, really. And it will give you plenty of smiles whilst you're driving. Either cruising along like this at around 60 miles an hour, or just simply put the foot down and it will go and ask, and just keep on going. And by the time you realize you're already almost exceeding the national speed limit. Whoops! There is one thing that is the serious enemy to these cars, and that's rust. You will find that most of these cars will have already been welded at some point in their lives, because unfortunately it is a common thing in these cars to be killed and be sent to the scrapper due to terminal rust. But I tell you what, buy a good example and you won't regret it. Me, it's a different matter. It's time, which I don't have, and also have a project coming very soon. A project that is very close to my heart, and unfortunately that one takes priority over this one. It's a project that won't take as much of my time. It's something that I can do over a longer period of time, and therefore I don't need to rush. And yes, I'm going to miss this car. Not so much the maintenance though. Yeah, there was a few challenges in there, but that's life. I can say that I've owned a Jaguar XJ once in my lifetime. Will I own one again? Don't know. It depends on how life goes. Will I like to own one again? Yes, why not? I suppose by the time I can actually own one, they probably will be already too expensive to buy. But let's face it, I will never own a car collection, and I think that there are quite a few other cars that I would like to own in my lifetime, and therefore I think I'll just prioritize those. And there's this thing where the way the things are going, there's so many changes in terms of regulations and so on. You have the fuels, which will affect some of the cars, although E10 fuel doesn't really affect the XJ according to the manual. Jaguars from 1992 are perfectly alright to use E10 fuel. But then you have things like the ULEZ in London that's coming to force in next month. You also have other things, similar low emission zones around the country, and a lot of people are getting rid of these cars because they will not able to afford to run them on a daily basis, having to pay a stupid tax. But I guess all good things come to an end. There's environmental reasons that we have to be concerned about, let's face it. There's something that has to be done about air pollution and climate change and so on. And the cars basically are the easiest way to go. Well, in terms of legislation, there's so many things that need to change anyway. But there'll be a lot of changes in the future which make these cars less worthwhile to have on a daily basis, unless you cocoon them in the garage and just run your daily walks. And that's it. That was the final drive on this fine car. Well, not the finest example really, it does need quite a little bit of work, but hopefully the new owner will enjoy it, will carry on with the work that has been started by the previous owner of this car, and hopefully it won't be another one that will be bang erased or broken for spares, because it is really sad, because this car is really too good to be broken for spares. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching this, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.